We've been asked to come in tonight to have a chat to you about coaching and mentoring and leadership. And before we get there, and before I hand over to Chris and get him to do all the really hard work, I'm going to get to do a little bit of the fun explanatory stuff. Over the past few years, the importance of coaching and mentoring in the workplace has really been highlighted in all forms of business. In the media, the importance of mentoring the youth, the importance of coaching people in their positions. And it really needs to be explained, the difference between coaching and mentoring and the difference between coaching, mentoring and training. Coaching isn't a buzzword that's replaced training. Coaching isn't skills-based, it's mind-based, it's thought-based, it's changing the way that you think. Mentoring's been around for years and years and years, probably hundreds of years, and it's a very, very personal and intimate process. Mentoring is always done where the mentee is mentored by somebody with whom they have a connection with and where they are guided. It's not really outcomes-based, which coaching is and training is as well. Mentorship is where you get the guidance from an elder, as you would have done in the old days. And now I'll get Chris to do all the hard stuff.
How nice to be here. In fact, I remember coming to Regenesys, oh goodness me, probably about 6-8 months ago, and they were running an HR in Derby here. And we stood up and we presented very quickly, and Rion and Blanca were sitting over there, and they turned around and said, "We'd love to have you back to come and chat to the MBA class, and how lovely to be in front of you tonight." And when we arrived, the very first thing that actually went through my mind, and I'm going to draw your attention to it because it's something that I really felt very strongly about, is this beautiful logo. And you might think to yourself, well, what is this guy on about? Well, it's actually very simple. When I looked at that, the very thing that I saw is, in order to have beautiful shoots, best you start to seriously nourish the roots. Now, I know that the one is a mirror image of the other, but the whole thing is, everything that you're actually doing in your life is actually about nourishing the roots. Because what are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding into your mind? What are you feeding into the world of others? What are your beliefs? What are your paradigms? As I started to ask myself, what am I doing? Yes, I loved what I was doing and I found it interesting, but was it something that was actually going to fulfill a purpose? And that then caused me to step into the world of retail banking, where I spent 10 years. And in a very short space of time, I moved through the ranks and I moved into a very, very senior role within one of the country's leading retail banks. And as a result of this, I went on a lot of management and leadership interventions. And I was eternally grateful for that until suddenly one day, I happened to stand in front of a relatively aged man, and when I say that, I'm talking a guy about 78, who turned around and said to me, "Chris, I want to ask you 2 questions, in fact 3 questions." And he said to me, "Can you think about your fridge?" And I thought to myself, of course I can think about my fridge. And he said to me, "Can you think about your car?" I said, "Of course I can think about my car." And he turned around and said to me, "And can you think about your mind?" And it was, whoa. He said, "Not your brain, your mind." And that was one of the most profound moments for me in terms of my development, because I suddenly thought to myself, it is true that the mind is the most powerful creative thing that we have. In fact, using the word thing is almost slightly dismissive. If I don't really know what my mind looks like, what am I actually dealing with? And so this journey began whereby we actually we began to understand, well, why does someone think the way they do? Why do people do what they do? And let's face it, these are the challenges that you are facing every single day. I mean, you're not sitting in this class by chance. I mean, we are talking to a highly talented group of individuals tonight. I'm sure within your companies or whatever, you're all regarded as highly talented or high flyers. You're on accelerated performance paths, etc., etc. So now it begs the question, and that's the question that I beg of you tonight, is do you actually know what the mind looks like? Have you ever taken the time to study it? Do you truly know why people do what they do? But the fascinating thing around all this comes back to leadership. And you, by virtue of the fact that you're in this class and what you've done, you will have already read a number of books on leadership. One of the big things about leaders is that leaders serve. And not only that, and it's a very powerful thing that where it says people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. So the other thing about leaders and leadership is you've got to be present. You see, there's no point in trying to be a leader. You either are a leader or you aren't a leader. And you are a leader by being present and accounted for. Don't think you can kid people. People know when you are present or not. And one of the key things about being a leader is being present. Because then when you are present, you are reading the person, you're interpreting the person. The whole thing is, this is what I would call the refined leader. The refined leader is someone who listens, who senses, who feels, who relies on that gut instinct. A person is not just merely some number. In fact, I have to be honest with you, I have quite a canary when I hear of people referring to other people in a business as resources. I have to think when I was born, I was a hell of a lot more special than just being a resource. What you've got to be asking yourself as leaders, and especially leaders of people, because that's what we're talking about tonight, people, human beings, is, am I encouraging these people to actually set goals that inspire them? If you're not inspired, why would you want to do more? And the purpose of a goal is to grow. So if you have set goals that don't have growth in them, then what is the purpose of the goal? In actual fact, you're wasting your time and you're wasting the other person's time. So if a goal is not making you grow, then it's not a worthy goal. If a goal is not inspiring you, it's not a worthy goal. Because the whole purpose of a goal in something that you do, whether it be professionally or personally, and remember, we're talking interchangeably tonight. I'm talking about business, but I'm also talking to you as individuals. Your goal has got to get you up in the morning with a little bit of white lightning coming out of your backside. If you don't have white lightning coming out of you, well, I'm not trying to be funny, you're dead from the toenails up, guys. And who wants to be around a leader who's dead from the toenails up? Because you actually know it. You feel it. The other thing is purposeful living. I mean, on Saturday, we had the most beautiful series of lectures here. Leadership 2020. This room was crammed full of young South Africans. Right? And they were listening to this Leadership 2020 event and living with purpose. And what is a purposeful life? Well, it's actually very simple. It means when you get up in the morning, you've got something to live for. If you get up in the morning and you're really sick and tired of your life, well, let me tell you, newsflash, you're off purpose. You know what? You're going to lead a miserable life. Other people are going to lead a miserable life, and you're going to rub off on them. Now, this is why it is so important to be on purpose, because when you know what you want, when you have that clear desire, that goal, and you've got a clear picture of that goal in your mind, and you then infuse that beautiful picture with emotion, in other words, you begin to move it from your mind into your heart, do you realize, guys, you are now moving into a powerful state? Now we move into something called the knowing-doing gap, and I'm just sharing a couple of coaching principles with you tonight. You see, we walk into the workplace, we take up a leadership position. We have people that report into us, and we have no understanding of where these people come from. We have no understanding of their childhood. We have no understanding what was programmed into them from an early age. And yet immediately we start making massive performance demands on these people of whom we have zero knowledge. Moving into your infinite mind power. You have an infinite mind. There's huge power flowing to you and through you every single minute of every single day. I mean, what are thoughts? Ask yourself that question. Why is it that you can give some people some set of resources, other people another set of resources, and one person will do magnificent stuff and the other person will tank? It's because what we do with it. So you have this infinitely powerful mind, and if you've actually never taken the time to study the mind, I would encourage you to do so. And it's very simple. You have a conscious mind, which is your logical thinking mind. This is where you decide yes, no, or couldn't care less. And then you have your subconscious mind, which is where all your paradigms sit. And that's what makes you do what you do. That is your emotional mind. You now introduce the higher faculties. Now, you have never heard of the higher faculties, and if you haven't, it is my delight to bring them to your attention, because they are perception, will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. Why are they your higher faculties? Because this is what differentiates you from the rest of the animal kingdom. This is what allows you to think. And I'm not thinking about synthesized thinking. I'm talking about creative thinking. Okay? Perception. You want to change your world, change your perception. You want people to change your business, change your perception. Change management is all about perception. You want to change perception. Will. What is will? It's very simple. It's willpower. Will is to the mind what a magnifying glass is to the sun. If you do not have willpower, you're not going to last the distance. This is why it is so important to build these things. Now, when you talk about higher faculties, people think to themselves, goodness, what are these? Well, the bottom line is these are just muscles. Every single thing can be developed. Imagination is the workshop of the mind. Whatever is conceived is whatever we see around us today. Chairs, books, this building was conceived twice. First in the mind, manifested in the physical world through plans and actions. Imagination is the workshop of the mind. Memory. No such thing as a bad memory. There's only an underdeveloped one because you haven't applied yourself to learn skills. Intuition. That's what you feel in your gut here. You either develop your intuition or you don't. People talk about a gut feel. That's your intuition. You absolutely have it. It's your connection with the universe. And reason. You want to change the way you think? Change your world. I've loved chatting to you, and so has Suzanne. And once again, to Regenesys Business School, what a delight it is to be able to actually come and chat and just share a very small snippet of our journey towards success and greater awareness and consciousness. Thank you.